Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon. Can you believe it? Just what we've been talking about in depth lately, some larger form of a robotaxi, likely some sort of cyber robotaxi van or minibus. Now Elon also seems to think it's a good idea. Alright, it's good to see our futurism skills are paying off. Elon is now talking about a highly configurable robovan for people and cargo, and what might possibly be another word for a robovan for people, a dedicated robotaxi. I said that it makes sense for Tesla's dedicated robotaxi to be more like a minibus, and basically something similar to resembling the one we've been shown in the past. I mean, Elon had in the past literally shown us this vehicle, so it must have been on his mind at some time. So why did I think this was going to be the direction Tesla was headed? Doing these intense studies on just one company and CEO, you hear something enough times, you really start to get the message. Although it wasn't exactly a hidden message. It's clear in black and white. Tesla's mission statement. Also how Elon refers back to the mission continually on every path Tesla endeavors. After a while, it becomes apparent if you want to try and work out the future of this company, try and understand the mission as best as possible. Try and think what is best for the overall mission. And bear in mind that the mission is global. It's not just for America. It's not just for Americans to have electric cars. It's for the whole world to simply burn less hydrocarbons. That's the mission. That's why this was easy to work out. I ask you, which results in a greater carbon reduction? Creating a $25,000 EV so all citizens in developed nations can replace their fuel-efficient, low-emission ICE cars with an EV, or a robovan that can pull around perhaps a dozen people at a time, replacing very old, cheap, dirty, inefficient, high-emission vehicles. And a lot of people said, I don't understand, or Tesla doesn't care about the consumer, or whatever. And like I said, it's all moot. This is clearly best for the mission. It reduces a lot more carbon emissions. And some of you were also concerned that it's not profitable. Why would Tesla want to sell EVs in developing nations? Of which I have explained, and it is more profitable. And I'll do a full financial model on how much more profitability it is potentially, as I think we all want to know, especially now it looks even more likely to be a thing. And I don't think I'm reaching too much to suggest that when Elon talks about this robovan, he is indeed referring to the dedicated robotaxi. We weren't going to see a dedicated robotaxi until next year, but Elon thinks it will be in volume production in late 2024. I mean, this tweet was not likely some sudden impulsive thought from Elon. It has likely been thought about for some time. Or is there a chance that this is on top of the dedicated robotaxi? I mean, Elon is using different labels, one being a taxi, another being a van. In fact, he actually says robovan, not robotaxi van. Have we possibly just jumped to too many conclusions based on our previous theories? Is it possible this is actually going to be a minivan, people mover more type vehicle that can also be used as a commercial van? When a company like Apple announces a new product, it may be in production and for sale in the next half of the year, or even earlier from announced. Teslas come more like the next half of the decade. Manufacturing cars is a very slow progress. We have to remember this, as we forget it's not quite the tech industry. Anyway, it is possible that we infer that the dedicated robotaxi is the robovan, but I just thought we should still be clear it is an assumption. Now Elon does say it's a configurable robovan for people and cargo. I think it might be likely to assume this is two different vehicles. I would say likely the same exoskeleton or body though. I think the difference between the two would be windows. In the rear, the cargo van would have no windows. I guess aside from the interior design, the rest of the vehicles should be identical. Now would this people van be a minivan or MPV or a minibus? We don't know. But if it's going to be used as a taxi as well, then there will likely be some efficient seating. Perhaps it's not quite as big as the minibus we've been shown in the past, which looked like it could fit about 20 or so people. Maybe this one will be more designed for all roads. But remember, still not a driver necessary. I would say there should still be ample seating available, possibly for over a dozen people. And Elon says they will be configurable, so perhaps the seating can be altered depending on how busy traffic is. Or if it's for private use, then a minivan that can be configured to cater to all sorts of lifestyles, activities and applications. I mean, you can imagine how cool the engineering behind it would be. And perhaps these won't be cheap. Now Tesla have realized something. People are willing to pay more for an EV and a lot more for a Tesla. Well, perhaps Tesla are thinking, if that's the case, then we could actually justify spending a bit more on manufacturing the vehicle and it won't affect profits. For example, perhaps Tesla could spend an extra $2,000 or something on production, and then you can configure all your seating with the app and it adjusts electrically for you, whatever you need. whether it's a bed or a desk. Or I don't know, maybe even cost $5,000, but it might be worth it, as it would mean Tesla can manufacture any kind of van you wanted, whether one for work or just to chill and watch Tesla Economist in. We can only begin to imagine. Remember, no upfront seating, wheel or pedal either. Perhaps it could be a huge screen at the front, and the other seats can configure into a lazy boy style comfort whilst you're driven around. In fact, this configurable part could be the really interesting part, especially when we think about the cargo van. Perhaps you could set up the van in different ways for different vocations, perhaps one for an electrician or another for a plumber, or you can configure it in your own custom way, likely with some sort of seating in the back so you can work on something whilst in motion. Anyway, we can let our imaginations run wild as to the possibilities of what is configurable in a Tesla van. And like I said, Tesla can justify spending more on production of future cars. Now they know the market is willing to pay extra for EVs and Teslas. I mean, it's kind of obvious that this van would also be used for deliveries. Perhaps UPS or someone could purchase Tesla cargo vans and it would significantly reduce costs of gas. I think it would be some time before the delivery man is replaced with a bot though. But there could be some applications where delivery can still be without a human and completely autonomous. The delivery man may be in the back organising packages for the next stop and ready to jump out when the Robovan arrives at any destination. And I'd say Tesla's van will likely produce their first 10,000 units before Rivian manage with their Amazon van. Of course, the actual area of the roof is larger in the van, and Elon has even talked about this, in there could be a solar panel on top. It could also be extendable if necessary. In fact, there are likely an endless plethora of accessories Tesla could add on to the van, likely the Cybertruck too. I think it likely there'll be different variants of the van, probably a single motor and a dual motor, and likely one with longer range and shorter range. Although I don't think I expect LFP cells. I think possibly the vans will be too heavy, especially when we also consider the additional weight of any potential cargo. Therefore, it will likely use 4680 cells and structural pack. Alright, I think the real question here is the Robovan also the dedicated Robotaxi? And even if it's not, it might still be used as a Robovan taxi designed more for pooling. It would be impressive if it's all done in one vehicle, one that can be used as a people mover, Robotaxi and cargo van, configurable in a way to meet each application, perhaps with a few different hardware features. But think about quantity. Tesla are not going to make a van for soccer mums, a van for cargo, and a van for robotaxis, etc. Tesla aren't going to bother making any vehicle unless they can sell about 1 million a year, as otherwise it simply won't be worth it. The semi-truck and roadster excluded. In fact, we might expect it to be more like millions a year these days. Therefore, I'd say there is a chance that this is just one vehicle suitable for all of those uses. Perhaps there'll be more information on the earnings call and at the shareholder meeting too. Anyway, I didn't ever think in my life I'd get this excited about a new van being released. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.